This is the Unspoken Podcast on the Undetermined Podcast Network.
You are listening to the Unspoken Podcast, part of the Undetermined Podcast Network. It is episode number 6. I'm Tom Albano, along with Nick Federa. Happy Super Bowl weekend, everybody.
Happy Super Bowl, everybody. It's all football all the time.
Do. Even though it's...
Yeah.
I know that's the Monday Night Football theme, but, you know, it's the football theme,
Yeah,
I feel like.
It is. It's what you think about when you think about football. And we're going to be launching into it, folks. We're going to be doing all Super Bowl, or mostly Super Bowl all the time.
Yes, prepare for football for this podcast. And then next week we need to find something else to talk about.
Oh, God. We'll have to wrap up the game, and then maybe we could just dance for a while. I know they won't be able to see it, but, you know, they'll be able to hear shuffling of footsteps. I mean, we got to think of something. We're entertainers, for God's sake.
Every day we're shuffling.
Exactly.
All right, so...
We're launching into Super Bowl.
I was going to say, should we just get right into it? Let's preview this. Let's preview this mother. Well, we can't speak curse. Actually, no, we can curse.
Yeah, we can.
It's just, you know. All right, so let's get right into it. Right into Super Bowl preview. It's the Patriots and the Falcons. It's the main event, the one everyone's been waiting for.
For the first time since 1999, the Falcons are going to the big dance, and boy, is it going to be fun.
It looks like a really, really fun game. I mean, you have the Patriots, who have been like the dynasty of the 2000s ever since the rise of Tom Brady. And then you have, as you said, the Atlanta Falcons. They're in the Super Bowl for the first time since whatever number it was, maybe 33?
Yeah, I think 99 against the Broncos.
Right, because it was the 98-99 Super Bowl. Because football is one of those weird sports, because it's like, it's not even like hockey and basketball where they transfer year to year, so you can say, you know, this year to this year, like 15 to 16 or 16 to 17, because the playoffs are in the new year, but the whole rest of the regular season mostly is in the first year.
Yeah. But you know what it is? Do you think there'll ever be a time where they stop counting Super Bowls using Roman numerals? Because for a lot of people, Roman numerals are confusing.
I mean, they did last year because it was Super Bowl 50.
I don't know why they did. I mean, just tell them that L means 50.
And now it suddenly clicked in my head. I'm like, why did they stop? Oh, that's why. Because Super Bowl L. Someone's going to get the L in the Super Bowl. Somebody has to eat the L.
But still, do you think there'll be a time when they don't use Roman numerals?
I don't know. I mean, that's just become their thing. Especially because they actually count the Super Bowls. Like, the MLB, they don't count the World Series. Like, they don't do the 100th. And I mean, they do, but they always refer to it in the history books.
They say it. They don't. It's not in the official title.
Right. They don't do World Series number 110. They do the 2000 whatever World Series. But yeah, I see this game as probably being one of the most anticipated and yet I think what's going to be one of the highest scoring Super Bowls. I truthfully think.
See, here's where it could get dicey, because a lot of teams go into that game great offensively on paper, but a lot of them just end up running out of gas. Take the Seahawks, for instance, against in 48, right? People thought
against who?
Shootout.
Against who?
Against the Broncos.
Yeah, that was 48.
Yeah. People thought it was going to be a shootout, but then Peyton Manning just ran out of gas.
Yeah, that was quite the interesting Super Bowl. It's like, I remember watching when that opening safety happened. I'm like, what the hell is this?
Exactly.
I mean, right? It's going to be isn't it like the number one scoring defense against the number one scoring offense?
Yes, it is.
I mean, that's the thing. It's like, I think we discussed this last week. Matt Ryan and the Falcons. Who saw this coming?
No, nobody. Not even Matt Ryan saw this one coming. As much as you'd like to say that, yes, we believed in ourselves, I don't think Matt Ryan believes in Matt Ryan, because there's no way he gets up in the morning, looks in the mirror, and says, yeah.
Like Tom Brady is.
Tom Brady does, because Tom Brady was pretty much born. He was born believing that. I mean, I swear to God, the man probably has pictures of himself strewn all across the walls of his house. There's pictures of himself doing a thumbs up.
Except there's one picture which he has thrown away, and that's the image of him crying when he thinks of when he got drafted with the 199th overall pick.
Oh, he still uses that as fuel. Don't. Even though he's won 5 Super, he always has a chip on his shoulder. He likes to play the elder statesman. It's like nothing bothers me. No, I'm telling you, that man, deep down inside his soul, he has a will, an iron will to destroy you down to your very soul, down to the last atom.
But you know that photo is going to be plastered all over the internet if the Patriots somehow lose the Super Bowl. You know that, right?
Oh, sure. There's going to be so many crying Jordan memes after that game if they don't win.
Well, it's going to be crying Jordan memes regardless, but I think there's going to be crying Brady memes if the Patriots lose. And of course, you know what else is funny we mentioned last week? We were like, oh, maybe Matt Ryan's going to contact Eli Manning for help. And it actually happened.
Yeah, he actually does. See, all the things you do to make fun of quarterbacks, he's taking our joke ammunition away from us. And it's not fun. It's not fun.
But you know what? Like, you heard the response that Eli had, right? It was that, like, he really couldn't help. Like, Matt Ryan has to, like, believe in himself and believe in his team. Eli was saying, well, you've made it this far, you know, you can win because you've made it this far.
I don't know whether that shows a lack of confidence in his team to actually get this one done, but we will see, I suppose.
I just think, like, not even taking my little fantasy shit into consideration, I just think this could be, you know, such a... I mean, what is your definition of a high-scoring Super Bowl? How many points would be high-scoring?
30 or above for both teams.
I think they could just crack, you know, a high game. Maybe they'll just miss it. I don't know. It's somewhere in that range, you know, like they'll be in that area. That's what I think.
It absolutely could, but it really, the Falcons will have a chance to win this game if they can knock Brady off if they can knock him off his rhythm and get to him.
Not just that, but we always, as we said, it's the number one offense against the number one scoring defense. You have Matt Ryan and versus the Patriots defense. I think, you know, the question is, can Matt Ryan, you know, get past the Patriots defense? And I say anything's possible.
Certainly anything's possible. I mean, going into the Super Bowl, we hate to use the Giants example because, you know, I'm a shameless homer, but we have to, going into the 08 Super Bowl, Giants-Patriots the first time, a lot of people were talking, well, a lot of people were talking about, you know, they weren't really giving the Giants a lot of chance to win this game, at least not in national media.
Well, the whole way to the Super Bowl, everybody was writing the Giants off. I remember seeing, like, there's a YouTube clip, I think, of, like, the divisional round when they played the Cowboys, and every Fox analyst picked the Cowboys to win.
Yeah. Oh, that was sweet.
It was. And you mentioned that first time. I think there's only one play that needs to show how, you know, a defense can be beat, and that's, of course, the helmet catch. Just simply the start of it, where it's like Eli comes through. It's like everyone thinks Eli is on the ground, but no, he's not.
Yeah, but the point I'm trying to make is that they were underestimating the Giants' defense, even though that defense was pretty much all pro, all world
Right.
almost. And the Falcons, I think. Do you think they have that kind of firepower that the Giants did?
Do I think they have that firepower? I mean, not really. But, who's to say, you mentioned how teams run out of gas. Who's to say either the Patriots offense or the Patriots defense isn't going to run out of gas?
Based on I think maybe we could take what we've seen already in the playoffs as kind of a bellwether.
As a what? Bellwether?
Yeah, as kind of like a harbinger.
Oh. I mean, but it's still the Super Bowl. It's one of the most unpredictable events.
Yeah, so there's always the chance that they're going to come out supercharged. I mean, everybody does.
Right. They've also had an additional week of rest. It's 2 weeks between games, between the conference championship and the Super Bowl. So both teams are a little more refreshed. Not completely refreshed, but a little more, I would think.
Yeah, and I don't think the Falcons, I don't think, have anybody on IR.
And of course, the Patriots.
They don't have Gronkowski.
But they've, not to say that they haven't made up for it. Dion Lewis has been a shock.
Exactly.
Chris Hogan
came out of nowhere, and I didn't even realize the guy used to be a Giant.
Yeah, but he was like on our practice squad, and then we got rid of him for somebody. And me and my friends were talking about this, and it's like, oh, well, shit.
Okay. All right.
We're going to get to we're not going to do a final say for this segment because we're going to save that for the end. We've decided to do a little something special. We're not going to reveal our picks yet. You're all going to have to wait till the end.
We're going to keep you in suspense.
Yes.
But it gives us enough time to change our picks if need be, and change in shame, or if any new information comes out between now and the end of the show, we'll be able to factor that into account.
Correct. But should we stick with our picks based on what we said in class?
A little context is necessary. We started a new class, and the new professor, great guy by the way. He asked us if we all thought which team we thought was going to win, and he had us raise our hands. Of course, me being the idiot that I am, didn't realize. Oh shit! I have to do this I have to do this on the podcast.
Right, I didn't realize either.
I may have tipped my hand a little early, but it's not like the people listening to this were there, or if they were. You know what I'm going to say, so make fun of me accordingly if I do change my answer.
Well, I was going to say, you never know who from our class is going to be listening into this, now that everybody knows that we're doing this podcast.
Yes, indeed.
All right. You're listening to the Unspoken Podcast, part of the Undetermined Podcast Network. I hate to go really depressive here, but we need to change to a serious subject, something that needs to be discussed.
Yes, and basically what's been happening this week is you've seen a lot of, Media Day, you've seen a lot of publications from around the country, in some cases around the world, descending upon Houston to talk to these teams, talk to each other. And because we're living in turbulent times, to say the least, there are a lot of questions being asked of NFL players how they feel about it, and there are a lot of questions pointed Roger Goodell's way about how he thinks, about what his personal opinion is of the league, and should they take a stance either for what's happening in this country now or against it. And basically his answer was no hablo inglés, basically. We're focusing on football, we're focusing on football, that old chestnut. And
there's such an irony to what you said, by the way.
Exactly, that's why I said it.
I didn't realize if you meant it on purpose or not.
Exactly. But still, I mean, you see a lot of the NFL. The point that I'm making here, folks, is the NFL was never, and I'll get at least the years under Paul Tagliabue and Roger Goodell, and I'll get at least the years under Paul Tagliabue and Roger Goodell. They've kind of stuffed out all opinions that don't have to do with the league and the betterment of the league and basically hiding behind the shield. Whereas, the NBA, with guys like LeBron James, Chris Paul, and coaches like Greg Popovich, they're very, very, very outspoken. And I'm wondering, I mean, feel free to disagree with me if you must, whether if it's a good thing that NFL kind of decides to stick to sports. Would that eventually become a detriment?
I mean, here's the thing. I feel yes and no. On one end, when you were just talking about, actually, I'll get to that in a second. But, the thing about having players or the league speak out or something, I mean, it's just if you take – it feels like I didn't want this to become a political thing, so this is hopefully going to be the only political thing I say. But it's really bad in this country because it's like there's nobody who's moderate anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody is extreme. If you disagree on the slightest thing, if you disagree on, the slightest thing, suddenly you're the enemy to that side. Even if it's people in your own party, let's say.
Yes, hyper-partisanship.
Exactly. I remember back in, I think somebody was I forget where this was. This must have been, some Facebook comment I read or something. But it's back in the day, you still had the liberals and you had the conservatives, but then you had the moderate Democrats and the moderate Republicans or the somewhere in betweens. It's
but they don't exist anymore.
Right. Or at least that's what the expectations are. Now the expectations are you have to be liberal or conservative. I really feel like maybe the term Democrat and Republican at this point is dead.
If dead or not, at least on life support. But still, right. I mean, the question remains: should you get a lot of pushback when athletes?
Well, that's where I was going to go on to next. You mentioned about not having players speak out, but if you look at the NFL, they're not just doing it for this shit; they're doing it for just about everything.
Yeah.
Who had? Actually, there might have been a number of cases with this. There was the whole. Actually, no, it was a whole issue, the cleats issue, when they were doing it for all the causes and stuff.
And with Josh Gordon,
right? I mean, yeah, but the stuff about the cleats bothers me more because those are good causes.
Yes, and it seems like they're snuffing out. They want their players to be automatons, and that's not healthy. I don't think that's healthy for the players. I don't think it's healthy for the league. Because if you see these people as people, these players as people, it humanizes them more. I think, at least.
Absolutely, I was just gonna say.
I could be full of it, but.
Also, I feel like it comes to the question of if somebody has a certain stance, does it damper the league to some people? And my thing is, it really shouldn't. A player's point of view does not necessarily represent those of the whole league. So,
that's why they put the disclaimer there.
Right. That's why we joked about how last week when we mentioned your brother and he would go on a rant about the Rangers or something if he ever came on this podcast, that we might need that disclaimer.
Yeah. And, well, if you're going to put that disclaimer there, let them speak freely so it has merit. So if you're not going to let players express any opinion, then what's the point of having the disclaimer?
Right. Also, if for some reason, people like to think that, because this person said this, I'm going to boycott everything NFL. Well, that's on the fans. I'm sorry, but it's like, you should know one player does not represent a whole league. Just like how one person doesn't represent a group or an association or a nation.
And at least, there is a flip side to that. I think fans would get annoyed if there was an NFL player that basically became the athletic version of Bono, where it's always, you're constantly yakking, and actually distracting from what it is you actually do for a living.
Well, I think there's, a comfortable limit. Let's say that. Like, if there's somebody who is going overboard, I think then you can have the right to, the league can have the right to step in and say, okay, guy, you got to nix it now.
Yeah. But, this is a big stage, and I don't think it's likely to change as long as Goodell is pulling the strings, let's say.
Yeah. And it's on both, there's serious matters and on the matters of, the uniform policy and, having all those little tributes and stuff. It's another example of the No Fun League.
Yes, it does, which provides us a very interesting segue to our next which, because the NFL is so dominant and there have been many... let's say, challenges to that throne, and one of them was, kid, you remember the XFL?
I'm so happy we get to discuss this now. I'm so happy.
Take it away, Tom.
Okay, so, do you think the NFL is boring? Do you think it represents the No Fun League? Kids, let me tell you about the story of the XFL. All right, the XFL. It was founded in February 2000 by a man known as Vincent Kennedy McMahon. Yes, the chairman of the WWE.
Very same.
And then, so we had the XFL, and he wanted to, for some reason, wanted to start a football league. And he actually had a partner. This was a 50-50 venture. His partner was Dick Ebersol, of course, of NBC fame. I should give a little context here before we get any further. This week marks the 16th anniversary of the XFL, and ESPN, was either last night or a couple nights ago, aired This Was the XFL, a 30 for 30 special made by, I believe, Charlie Ebersol, Dick's son. And it was a whole look into the partnership between Vince McMahon and Dick Ebersol, history of the league, what went wrong, what was still innovative, because there were things that actually the NFL uses today that were innovated by the XFL.
And what's because full disclaimer, folks, I haven't seen it yet, so I'm going to be asking the questions. What was? Well, granted, I wasn't really interested in the XFL when I was a kid, so I kind of tuned it out.
Right, I was going to say you would remember it more than I would.
I did. I do. What I remember was them promoting the hell out of it, and this was on every magazine cover on Sports Illustrated. This was going to be the next big thing.
To some maybe, but there was also a lot of skepticism and a lot of criticism. Let's clarify something about the XFL. They promoted a lot of different rules to their leagues. And there were a lot of different rules. First of all, there was no extra point. You would have to do a 2-point conversion for a 1 point instead.
Have you ever watched any of the old XFL games?
Have I ever watched any of the old XFL games? I know there's a couple available on YouTube, and I, dived into it a little bit. But this is a lot more research. This is a lot more, because I am a wrestling fan, so the XFL is a running joke among our community because it was one of the biggest failures of all time.
Especially, you can use that to needle McMahon, and
exactly.
I think he may actually be still upset about it.
I mean, I think he's a lot more willing to admit that it was a failure, but we'll get into that. But let me point out more of the rule changes for the XFL. I mentioned there was I mentioned the no point after kicks. The opening scramble. Both players were lined up by the 30-yard line. The ball we placed at the 50. At the whistle, the two players, one from each team, would run towards the ball. Whoever had possession was allowed to choose, the kicker receive. And actually, in one of the opening week games of the XFL, one player actually separated his shoulder and the season was done.
So it was basically, you're deciding what is supposed to be determined by the flip of a coin through an onside kick, and nobody thought nobody thought that was bad.
It was innovative, though.
It was innovative, but look, the atom bomb was innovative. The hydrogen bomb was innovative. The Gatling gun was innovative. I'm sure herpes was innovative. Doesn't that mean it's good?
I know. Well, let's not compare the XFL to that stuff, even though those would make for some interesting jokes.
Well, the XFL is kind of like herpes. I mean,
that's going to be a quote. Let's give me like a quote on our social media pages. Nick Federa, 2017, episode 6.
Yeah.
But anyways, it was. What?
She'll put that on my headstone when I die.
Anyways, let me get back into the XFL. It was a single entity league, so the league was, the league owned and operated its own franchise. Vince originally had wanted to purchase the Canadian Football League. That's where this whole thing stems from, by the way. As the documentary pointed out, now, Ebersol and McMahon had great relationship, because they were both innovators in their own industries. Ebersol helped team up with Lorne Michaels to create Saturday Night Live. Vince McMahon brought wrestling into the national mainstream. And actually, the two had been partners before. They had a WWF program, I think it was Saturday Night's Main Event, that would air in the 80s on NBC as an occasional special.
Plus all the success he was having with Monday Night Raw.
Well, that wasn't around in the 80s, but yeah, in the 90s.
In the 90s, I'm talking.
Okay, in the 90s, yeah, Monday Night Raw came around, and that was big. Still big to this day. NBC Sports under Ebersol. And essentially, what happened, why Ebersol wanted to join up with the XFL, essentially was because when Fox stole the NFL from them, under the new contracts in 1998, that's when Fox got the NFC, the AFC went to CBS, and NBC was left in the dust.
So the XFL was their version of it.
Correct. It was a way to get NBC to broadcast football again. And, since Ebersol and McMahon were good buddies, there's a TV deal right there. But as the documentary pointed out, as time went on, everything was really, it seemed like Vince didn't have the answer, and all the teams came so late. I think it was in late 2000 when the teams were finally introduced. And there were 8 teams. There was in the East, the Orlando Rage, Chicago Enforcers, New York, New Jersey Hitmen, and Birmingham Thunderbolts. And in the West, you had Los Angeles Extreme, San Francisco Demons, Memphis Maniacs, and Las Vegas Outlaws. So you had a couple of markets where there was no professional football or professional sports altogether, like Vegas. And it's funny because now these days we can relate to that, because now Vegas is going to get an NHL team and possibly the Raiders.
Possibly, although that is in jeopardy as of this recording.
Yeah, if you haven't been following us on social media, we've been reporting about how the Raiders' new stadium in Vegas, a bunch of its investors are pretty much dropping out of the program.
Yes, but the thing is, you're right. The XFL did have innovative ideas. I didn't mean to be so flippant before.
Right.
But do you think that The XFL obviously didn't work out, but do you think that there is at least a precedent for how, in the NFL, their monopoly on football could eventually be broken?
I mean, I don't know. Let me get a little more into the XFL, because I'm sure there are a bunch of people here who do not have a clue what the XFL was, so let me keep going a little bit. There's actually a really bad story. The Birmingham Thunderbolts were originally the Birmingham Blast, but that was changed because there was actually a lot of Birmingham residents who were outraged because there had been a history of blasts, a.k.a. bombings, in Birmingham.
Mm-hmm. Oh, boy.
Yeah. Prior to the first game of the season, this must have been, I think, during a playoff game for the NFL. They flew an XFL blimp over one of the stadiums, and it crashed into a waterfront restaurant, and it caused like millions of dollars in damages. That was a bad omen right there.
That's God telling you to knock it off.
And then week one happened. Week one happened, and the XFL drew a 10 rating. A 10!
Which, for those of you who are not versed in Nielsen speak, that is big.
That is holy freaking shit big. Although the game, originally broadcast on NBC, was between the New York, New Jersey Hitmen and the Las Vegas Outlaws, it was... and then they actually cut to a different game, and then they just stuck with that game for the rest of the broadcast. Then a lot of people had, thoughts, oh, it's Vince McMahon, so it's fake. A lot of hype went into it, like, oh, it's going to be different, like screw wrestling and football. These were two different projects. And then, of course, throughout the season, the XFL had promos from the likes of The Rock, Stone Cold Steve Austin, and The Undertaker.
Yeah, so you use your stable of usual suspects.
And then week two happened. And week two, they were promising a big game. You can read more about this online for the XFL or watch the 30 for 30 documentary. Week two, they had this game for NBC that was going to be a lead into a special SNL hosted by J-Lo. And they just had so many technical problems that the SNL start time got pushed back, and Lorne Michaels got pissed. So now, when the NBC broadcast came over for the XFL, any game, it didn't matter what the score was, what quarter it was, at 11 o'clock, the game was shut off because SNL needed to go on. And then, of course, the ratings start to slip. And by the end of the season, the WWE and NBC each lost about $35 million. Only recuperating 30% of their initial $100 million investment. So NBC finally bows out of the deal. Vince tries to keep it going. This is not said on the 30 for 30, so you're actually going to get this from me, a wrestling guy. He wanted to keep going on the other two channels, TNN and UPN. But at that time, UPN had the other WWE program, SmackDown. And they said, okay, but SmackDown has to be only an hour and a half and not the standard 2 hours of WWE programming you would see on the TV. And Vince had none of that, and the XFL failed. Now, here's where I was going into the innovations, because this actually can tie into a secondary subject we were going to talk about with this XFL stuff. There were several innovations. First of all, they went into... how do I put this? They were more in your face with the cameras and stuff. So there were cameras on the field. They gave players personalities. There was one player named He. Like, they could put stuff on the back of their jerseys. He hate me. He hate me. And they were more up close and personal with the coaches and stuff. Like, you could hear the play calling and stuff. And I think that set the standard for today, because you have all the pregame stuff. You have all the postgame locker room discussions with the coach and stuff. And let's face it, NFL Network during the offseason, that's all locker room stuff.
And that's, well, like I was saying before, does that mean at least that there is a So the NFL kind of cannibalized those.
Yes.
Yeah, those
Because
innovations.
I was going to get into that. The other innovation was the Sky Cam. Like they were able to broadcast from the sky, like something out of a football video game. And then, what do we have now? Don't we have a Sky Cam?
Yes, yes, we do.
So I think people give the XFL not enough credit, is what I'm saying. I'm not saying that it's a success. It was a big flop, but I don't think people are giving it enough credit. I mean, where do I think the XFL went wrong? First of all, having your wrestlers promote the XFL, suspicious.
Sends the wrong message.
Second of all the scantily planted women and stuff, and the infamous scene where they tried to go into the cheerleader locker room and stuff. Desperate ploy for ratings, as ratings sagged. The football wasn't good. Do you know how long the training camp was before the teams got on the field and played?
No, I don't.
It was only like 4 or 5 weeks.
Wow.
The teams only had like 4 or 5 weeks to gel.
Oh my God. How the hell? God, I'm not even.
Yeah. So essentially, it was like, and the stadiums really didn't fill. Like they used some NFL stadiums and then had a couple of originals of their own because, of course, NFL wasn't in places like LA again or Las Vegas. But it's also, like the end of the season, the failure of the XFL, it upset those cities because they lost football. Like Las Vegas lost its only professional team.
And that just sucked.
But at the end, they actually had Vince and Dick Ebersol reuniting, and they're chatting over dinner and stuff, which was really cool, and it felt really real. And Vince felt, human, which us as wrestling fans don't really get to see too often. And Dick actually asked him, does that thought come in? Would you want to do this again? And Vince admitted yes. Because, like we said, the XFL, they had innovations that the NFL took off with. And now, you've had the XFL, you've had the failure of the USFL. The NFL just has this huge monopoly, and it's bad. And where I think the XFL could have gone right is not targeting the NFL as much about the NFL is boring, it's the no fun league, which of course, again, also Vince had the right idea because now we see with the fines for the touchdown dancing, the social media, as we were discussing before, that, don't speak about stuff. The NFL is becoming the no fun league. And I also mentioned this to you, the feeding of the college system, taking all the college players after only a year or two. Where I think the XFL could have gone right was if they promoted themselves as just a fun alternative. That's an alternative as opposed to competition. Do I think the XFL could make a comeback today? I don't know with the rules of the no point after or the scramble, but maybe as a minor league. Something for, the players coming from college or those who want a second chance, they could go there. Because, there's no NFL Europa. There's no USFL. There's an Arena Football League, but it's not the AFL like it was in the 2000s.
But, they'll those are all good ideas, but I don't think anybody's going to listen to them, unfortunately.
Right. Goodell's a shit at him, sorry.
Yeah. We're just gonna have to call a spade here, folks.
Yep. All right, let's spend the next 5 minutes or so. Let's talk about something else that's fun about the Super Bowl. Let's talk about some commercials.
Yes, indeed.
My other favorite part of the Super Bowl, commercials. What are your 7 favorite commercials of all time, Nick? Who does so well with the commercials to you?
Oh, God, there have been so many. A lot of the beer ads just end up being stupid, but I think the most interesting man in the world made its debut there. I'm not quite sure.
And, of course, the Super Bowl, the most interesting man in the world, that's a classic. Sadly, that guy isn't around anymore, so... Now they have.
Snickers, yeah, Snickers has had a couple of fun ones.
Snickers always has fun ones. Doritos always has really good ones.
They always bring the they usually are all fucking hilarious. But,
there's been a lot more car commercials as of late.
Yeah, and it seems like, Budweiser's going to do the whole patriotic thing because they always do.
You saw the ad that they're going to have for this year?
No, I don't want to spoil myself.
Okay. Yeah, I won't spoil anything here. Although, if we're going to do that, then I will mention this briefly in passing, something to anticipate. I know I've seen a couple of them. Skittles, I saw one from them. That was actually pretty funny. It's not overly hilarious, but it's like, it'll get a snicker out of you. I didn't realize that I did that.
Oh, you punny bastard. You.
I did not mean to do that.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did. Come clean, man. You're not fooling anybody, Albano. But still, it's always fun to watch those commercials, and they
right.
You almost have to. We're cynical people because we know how the sausage is made in a lot of ways, but there's something innocent about loving commercials.
But that's the thing. Like, that's one of the big selling points of the Super Bowl, especially to non-football fans. Some of them just watch the Super Bowl for the commercials. I think there's one commercial this year. Oh, there's a few car commercials, but one of them is like, it has this like break dancer or something. It's weird, but kind of cool if you're into the dance thing. It's. But have you heard what Snickers is doing?
No, I have not. What are they doing?
Okay, I will not reveal the whole plot in general, but it's also I can't really reveal the whole plot because the commercial isn't made yet.
Oh, it's a live commercial with that.
Yes, they're going to do a commercial live.
And that is going to be, let's see if they can pull it off.
I'm just trying to think, how can they pull this off? I mean, this is something, like when I think of a live commercial, I think of like a live read or something.
Yeah, I do too, but there's not, I don't think I can, we'll see what happens. Let's see if it ends up being funny.
Who do you think is going to have the best Super Bowl commercial?
My money is on Doritos because they haven't let me down before.
Yeah, I can see Doritos having it. I feel like if Snickers pulls this off correctly, it could be them. I mean, the thing is, like, it's going to remind me a lot of, like, 1950s, 60s early television because a lot of that stuff was live. And, I mean, a lot of shows were live. Even into the 90s, they were live. Like, you always heard, like, even on sitcoms, like, so-and-so was recorded in front of a live studio audience.
Yeah. But you're going to, considering the amount of money that companies are spending for a 30-second or a minute ad, especially for the movies they'll show, it's going to be something to see.
It was like $2-point-something million 10 years ago, and now it's even higher. It's probably at 4 or 5.
It is, I think, at a little bit over 5, if I'm not mistaken.
For a 30-second spot.
For a 30-second spot.
That's unbelievable.
But yeah. That's how things go,
and that's the price these companies are willing to pay because they know the payout's could be big because Super Bowl is always one of the most watched programs in all of TV every year. It seems like the record for most watched program on TV gets broken every single year by the next Super Bowl.
Oh, and it will be, but unfortunately, folks, we are running out of time, so
it's time.
We'll need make our picks. It is time. It is time to do it.
All right, Nick, you go first.
Oh, yeah, sure. Lay it all on me. All right. As much as I would as much as I would like the Patriots to not win this one.
You think they are?
I don't see how they can. Well, I see how they could lose this game, but I think they will win it by. I'm gonna go by 7.
What do you think the final score will be if you have to pick?
I think it will be 28-21.
2021? Okay. I mean, let me just say this. People didn't believe in Eli Manning the first time. People didn't believe in Eli Manning the second time. The Seattle Seahawks could have been the biggest threat to the Patriots, and then the Seahawks completely shut themselves down. Pete Carroll lost his mind somewhere.
Yeah, he had the brain fart of all brain farts on the biggest stage ever.
Pretty much. But it shows the Patriots can be beat. The Patriots, after their 3 Super Bowls in 4 years, they've been vulnerable, even when they were perfect. And I think Matt Ryan and the Falcons can continue this run. I am not going to put it to the point where I think they're going to blow out the Patriots, but I'm going to say the Falcons. And I am going to give it just enough of a high score. I am going to go with Atlanta 35, New England 32.
3-point margin, that is razor thin.
Because I'm giving credit. Like, if the Patriots win, I think even that will be a razor margin. I think Matt Ryan and the Falcons, win or lose, my bold guarantee is they're going to give the Patriots a run for their money.
And as much as I don't want to give, Patriots fans, Boston area fans a reason to be happy, I don't know. But,
right.
Yeah. But,
all right.
It is, yeah, go ahead.
Well, I feel like it's going to be a good Super Bowl either way. And I'm going to give credit to whichever team wins. Because it's one of those Super Bowls.
Yeah.
So that is going to do it for episode number 6 of the Unspoken Podcast. Like us on Facebook at the Unspoken Podcast. Follow us on Twitter at Unspoken Podcast. Get ready for the Undetermined website to be launched very soon. I can't wait.
It's going to be something.
And happy birthday to the Undetermined's Nick Mortensen.
Happy birthday, man.
All right, so that's going to do it. I'm Tom Albano, and for Nick Federa and everybody else here at the Unspoken Podcast and the Undetermined Podcast Network, we'll see you next week for episode number 7, the post-Super Bowl discussion.
Happy Super Bowl, and good night, everybody.